Hi guys, so this is gonna be my first vlog. I've never really done stuff like this before, so forgive me if I sound kind of nervous because I am. But for this project we're supposed to talk about any topic from class that we've learned, and I was really interested in renewable energy sources, and I did some research on that, and that's what I'm gonna do this video on. So just to make a really quick recap of what we learned, renewable energy sources are resources that are replenished naturally through a human's life cycle, and so that would be an estimated like 80 years. But the four main forms of renewable energy that we learned in class are sunlight, wind, geothermal heat, and tide. Well, there are other forms of renewable energy such as ethanol. Well, we will focus more on this because it's cleaner than ethanol, and I really want to focus more on wind energy because I found that I wanted to narrow my topic down a little bit more, and I found that wind energy is the most interesting out of the four. As of now, only 16% of global energy sources come from renewable energy sources. That's not including just wind or just solar. It's all renewable energy forms combined. As of now, the number one ranking form of energy is fossil fuels, and the third is nuclear energy at 2.7%. And I forgot to mention fossil fuels ranks number one at 80.6%, and renewable energy resources is at 16%, a little bit over 16%. Wind power, out of that 16%, wind power um, is currently growing really rapidly at a rate of about 30% growth per year. Wind power is currently being used as a renewable energy source in mostly Europe and the US and also some parts of Asia. But I found through research that countries like Denmark uses it the most. Denmark currently has 25% of its electricity and fuel coming from wind generated power. And just really quick recap of wind power. It's been used as a renewable source for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. The most earliest form is people using wind power to power sails for boating and travel. But the most current form of wind power using windmills currently comes from a tradition that stems from the Middle East and was brought to Europe through the Crusades. Which is what I'm talking about, is like windmills where they have four drive shafts connected, four or more drive shafts, the things that are coming out of the center, connected to a central shaft that has all the mechanisms and all of the engines that are in it. Where the earlier forms of windmills were used as a way to power engines to crush grains for use for like flour and other things. The first windmills that were used to generate electricity appeared in 1887 by a man named James Blyth, who used it to light his home in Scotland. In 1900, in Denmark, there were over 2,500 windmills used to just generate 30 megawatts of power. That's not windmills that are used for like farming stuff. It was just for electricity. By 1908, the U.S. had about 72 electric windmills, or windmills that were used to generate electricity. By World War I, American windmill makers have produced about 100,000 windmills for use in farms for electricity, or to pump water, or to power machinery. By 1930, wind turbines have been really common on farms for those reasons. Because farms were so far from each other, it was not feasible for them to be connected to the grid, and so each farm would have its own windmill to generate electricity from. So it allows them to be off the grid, but also have electricity at the same time. By 1941, the first megawatt class wind turbine synced to utility grid is created in Vermont, which means that the very first windmill that is able to surpass the 1 megawatt generating class is created. By 1951, the first fully utility grid connected wind turbine is operated in the UK by the JB and Company Corporation. they built and manufactured these windmills for use. After 1951, windmills fell off until about the 1970s and was mostly replaced by fossil fuels. And by 1970, when people started protesting for healthier, more clean environments and also renewable resources, windmills came back into fashion and and people were starting to develop more advanced forms of windmills in order to generate more electricity. Currently, Denmark holds the top record of using wind energy in its power grid. It generates 25% of its electricity through wind turbines, and in 2010, world energy production is over 2. Wind worldwide wind energy production is over 2.5%, and is currently growing at about 25% per annum. Wind farms, which are basically large spots of land that have many windmills on them, are starting to pop up all over the world and are used to house, like I said, multiple wind turbines in one location. And also, what's really cool that I learned is that these wind farms can also be placed offshore. So you can have like either large floating rigs where huge turbines can wind offshore to generate electricity as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And currently, all over the world, there are about 200,000 wind turbines, and the U.S. has 50,000 through a census in 2012, and that number is currently growing right now. Worldwide, wind power has quadrupled in size, quadrupled in the time frame from 2000 to 2006, and statistics have shown that wind power doubles every 3 years. So, like I said, wind power is becoming one of the most popular forms of renewable energy right after solar power, and a lot of countries are turning to it because of its low cost and low maintenance. Wind, sorry, what was I gonna say? Wind farms are actually really cheap to bring up, and also because they don't require that much maintenance, the cost of actually having wind farms actually falls off in the end because it pays itself back by the amount of electricity it creates. To conclude, wind is one of the least environmentally harmful sources of energy because, like I said, it emits no greenhouse gases, and the energy used to construct the turbines themselves are made up by the energy it creates in just a few months. So actually, within a couple of months, like, you're able to make back all the money that you spent on the wind turbines with the amount of electricity that it generates. And so, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please forgive me, I'm like really nervous right now. I'm not really used to recording myself. So thanks. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.